I haven't done anything, but thank you very much. It's pretty amazing, this place. I've never been. What is it? We love you. Thank you very
You're
much.
gorgeous. Great work.
Thank you very much for coming. There are so many events and movies and screenings, and I guess it's hard to choose. But let me tell you something. You choose the right one.
Yep.
This movie, The Society of the Snow, I think it's a masterpiece done by one of the best directors ever, and it happens to be Spanish. So that makes me deeply proud. The movie opened in Spain like four weeks ago on theaters, and it's been packed. I mean, it was number one. And the movie opened last week on Netflix, and it's number one globally, which is huge. And it's huge because it's a movie in Spanish, speaking in Spanish, done by a group of actors and crew members, all coming from Spain and other South American countries. And that makes me feel especially proud and really thankful to Juan Antonio, because he's showing the world, he's showing to you tonight the quality of how we do what we do. And this movie is a testament for that. I mean, it really is anything that you would ask for a movie. It's emotional, it's smart, it's intelligent, it's absolutely mind-blowing, the way it looks, the way it sounds, the special effects, the wardrobe, the makeup is so astonishing that you can't even say it's there. You believe that those people are going through that.
So you like it?
I loved it, that's why I'm here. And I'm sure you are going to love it. And unfortunately, I cannot be for the Q&A because I have to go. So that's why I'm going to call Juan Antonio, I'm going to make him a couple of questions, and then later on, I'm going to be with no more, no less than Steve Pond, which is amazing. It's a great honor that he's in the room today. So with you are my good friend and very admired director, Juan Antonio Bayona.
All right.
You got the job.
I got the job. So Juan Antonio, this movie comes from a book. Yeah, and how do you approach to the fact that this is a real story, and then some people out there knew about it, and there was actually a movie done back in the 80s called Alive. How do you approach this story from an absolutely new point of view? What was the thing that you said, okay, but this is a different take? Because, and I will shut up now, it's absolutely original, the way he does, and the way he tells the story, and you are going to discover why in a few moments.
Yeah, well, I read the book because I was preparing another film. I was in pre-production. The film didn't have a title yet, but it had a similar theme. It was set up on the tsunami in Thailand in 2004. So I bought the book, and suddenly I thought I knew the story, and I found myself very moved, crying, reading the book, crying for the dead characters who never were in the headlines, who never, I never heard about them, and I was crying for that people, you know. That shocked me, and also it was of great help for the impossible. Yes. Actually, the title came from the book, from Society of the Snow. There was some lines from Roberto Canessa, one of the survivors, who mentioned impossible like 7 times in 3 lines, and I thought, what a great title for the movie that I'm doing now.
Cool.
But once I finished the impossible, I still was thinking about this one. So it took us 10 years, as you say, 10 years to find us a film because it's in Spanish with unknown Uruguayan actors, all of them very young, but we had to do it right, you know, we had to do it like authentic. The thing is that I met the survivors. My surprise is that they needed the film more than me to be done. Actually, I realized that they needed the film because the tale was wrong. I mean, everywhere they go, they will talk about the plane crash. They will talk about cannibalism, that's a word that they hate. And there is a line that I love from one of the survivors that says, "We were never person than what we were in the mountains."
Yeah.
You know, that's what the story is about finding your best self in the worst of the situation, about finding light in the dark, about finding love in the most unexpected place. That's what they needed to see in the screen, and hopefully it's in there.
Absolutely. I don't want to make any spoil because after there's going to be, as I said, with Steve Bond, a beautiful Q&A. But it's true that I think the homage that you do to everyone involved in this situation, hard situation, that includes the people that never got back, is done so beautifully and so emotionally and so, such a smart way that it's impossible not to feel them as a unity. And that's why the name of Society of the Snow makes so much sense, because it really is about being together and needing each other in order to survive, and also to remember those who gave everything to us for us to survive. Last question before because they don't care about what I'm saying. They want to watch the movie and see the talk later on. Tell me, how was the shooting briefly? Like, how was the conditions of shooting this, so they know when they remember you telling them, well, we were there.
Yeah, we bet for trying to be as real and authentic as possible. So we basically shot in the mountain. We went to the south of Spain, in Sierra Nevada, in the highest point of a ski resort. That was 10,000 feet. So we were striding every day with the snow. We have, by the way, our DP, Pedro Luque, here.
Amazing work is done.
Explaining you what is to shoot a movie in the worst conditions possible. He had to go back. He doesn't like that I say that, but he had to go back one day to the hotel because he had altitude sickness, which I had
I
also.
came back. He
He came back.
Same day, I mean.
Same day. No, it was super hard, like shooting in those weather conditions with a cast that was 25 actors every day since 8 o'clock in the morning. To have them ready to get there was already an adventure every day. And also because they are losing weight. It's one of the beautiful things about the film. You will see how the body is changing all the time, because we shot chronologically. They are losing weight all the time. You can see how the bears rear, how the hair grows. So they went through this very extreme journey too, and we went hand by hand together. I had the time of my life working with them.
No, but it's
I get it.
It gets emotional. It gets emotional because you're adorable, man. We love you, and you're adorable because if I was the director of doing that movie, they wanted to speak nicely about me. But when I talk to the kids, because there are kids, that this is by the way the first movie.
You will see, because they gave so much to this film. They are so happy right now. Every day I call them and I give them all the good news, because they gave so much that you will see. I will say.
But it speaks very highly of you that they speak so nice about you after you putting them in such a horrible condition, making them starve to death, and shooting a movie that it's taking everybody's emotional, for the rest of our lives. And it's still, when you talk to the kids, I had the chance to talk to them in Madrid, they were like, we adore him. He was there in every step of the way. He was with us. He would never ask us to do something that he wouldn't do first. And that speaks very highly of you as a human being, which is, by the way, the most important thing of it all. Who cares about movies? You're a great man. That happens to be a fucking master.
It's about compromise. It's about compromise. All these guys, they met the real people, or the survivors or the families of the deceased. So they felt the compromise of telling the story and telling the story right, And we did everything. I always say, if you do everything you can, you calm down, because you can do more than what you can. Okay, so I'm very happy with what I did, because I couldn't do more. I couldn't do more. Hopefully, was enough. It was enough. Okay, but I did my best.
Certainly did. Ladies and gentlemen, Juan Antonio Bayona. Enjoy the movie and get cozy because it's not cold.
Thank you.
Thank you. Woo! Thank you.
Javier's question, because I was spoiling the film by answering the question. He was referring to this idea of killing the narrator. You know, when I read the book, I was very impressed about this kind of like. It's less about the fact and more about the spirit. So how capture that level of spirituality into the film, and the way to get that was to allow one of the dead guys to tell the story. By doing so, you're basically killing the audience. That's something that Alfred Hitchcock would love to explore. You know, he did it already in Psycho somehow. By killing the audience and allowing the audience to live the rest of the story through all the characters, was like a way of telling the audience or making the audience to live the experience they live in the mountain, allowing themselves to live in the other ones, you know. So that the idea came from there. It took us a while to answering your question to get there. It's true that I discovered the book while I was doing The Impossible. Right after The Impossible, this movie felt wrong. It was too close, and but it was after there was some monstricles that we tried to do the film. But we couldn't find the money. We were working in the script in the meantime. The first email I sent to the survivors was in 2011. I started to work in the script with Pablo Bierzi, the author of Society of the Snow, in 2016, and we finally got the green light in 2020. I was doing some of the things in the meantime.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to that idea of the dead narrator, because when I saw the film, it was like, wait a minute, this has been a dead guy talking to us. I mean, it is such a shock at that point in the film to realize that, you know, Numa's not around and he's telling the story. Was that something that...
It's about getting into the minds of the characters. Not only the characters, but also the people we talked to do this film. Not only the survivors, but the families of the deceased also. And they didn't like the word death. Every time I said, well, the death, they were like, well, they are not here, but they are not dead. So that was like a way of, again, the killing the narrator is a way of, and then you hear his voice. Where is that voice coming from? Where? He's not dead. He's still there, you know, somehow.
So was that an idea that you had early on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for you guys, what were your first conversations with Juan Antonio like, and how did you get involved? Michael, I know you were involved after it was finished.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was going to be working on the movie. It was we've known each other for so many years, many years, and usually what happens is he will come to town. He'll say, "Hey, I'm in town and I have my new movie. Will you look at it and just tell me what you think?" And I was like, "Sure, this is what we do." And except for this one was different because by the end of the evening, I was scoring the movie, and it wasn't something that I expected. But I remember the first time I saw the film, he brought it to my house. We watched it at my house, and I was floored, both emotionally, all of it. I was very taken aback from it, and immediately my head was spinning with everything I felt like I should be done for this film musically. But even at that time, I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna just tell him, give him what my thoughts are, and he can then take that to whoever ends up scoring this film. But by the next morning, I was scoring the film, and which I was very thankful to, but I was also terrified at the same time because it was such a true and honest story, one that I knew about since I was a child. I grew up in New Jersey, and I knew about this story. My sister still has all her, she was like, she kept diaries for everything, and she went back and found the diary. She was like, she wrote about this plane that crashed in the Andes, and she was talking about how sad that, and I remember, so it's a cultural thing that I remember as a kid, and to kind of, it always sort of terrified me in many ways, and I always felt such sadness for this story, and so I know for me it was almost a way to sort of process all of those feelings, and on top of that, then getting to know the survivors as well was an unbelievable experience. So for me, it was like incredibly emotional, cathartic experience, one that I never would have expected, but it was tough. It was a tough thing to sit there every day and work on.
And you wouldn't even have been able to do it if not for the writer's strike, right?
Well,
You're supposed to be
yes.
directing a movie?
Yes, I was directing a movie for Warner Brothers, and we were like in full force, ready to get going, and then the writer's strike happened.
That same night.
That exact night that he brought the film to my house, and he was just like, well, hey, there's a writer's
You're
strike.
totally,
So.
I look at you and say, well, Michael, you're totally unemployed now.
Yes.
Have you ever done a movie with subtitles?
Well, I am truly, honestly honored that I got to do this film and get to do it with my friend Jota here, who did an incredible job. Yes.
Woo.
So Pedro, how'd you?
So for me it was first of all it was a shock because I'm from Uruguay, and this is a story that runs in the we all know about it. And when I was a kid, I was always running around with this book. I got reminded about that fact by a friend when I was kind of deciding if I was going to do this movie, because I was working too much. But suddenly Jota comes with this idea, and it's a story that I know very well, and I'm like, it was obviously a great opportunity to be part of it, because I felt like, how to honor this story properly, how to do it with love, and at the beginning, the things we like, I remember Jota saying like he wanted to be in a way free, or follow the emotion of this actor. So everything we made was the machinery was put to work for that thing, to follow the emotion, follow these actors. These actors were very well prepared, and it was difficult because the logistical problems that a shoot like this presents, to shoot in the mountains, to go to the Andes Mountains, to shoot in Sierra Nevada in Spain, to shoot in Uruguay, and on a stage, and chronologically, it was very challenging, but at the same time amazing. And we had a great crew that helped us to do exactly that, follow the emotion, follow these actors, follow Jota, and but doing it with this quality. That's like this movie sits in a weird space, which is like, for a moment you totally believe it. It feels like a documentary, but also it has really nice cinematic stuff that tells you the story with more than words.
I feel like you made a couple
Approach
decisions.
to the story and faithful to what they went through. So by shooting the film in English would have been totally wrong. We wanted to be as close as possible to the culture, the political context, to the time. So that's one of the reasons why I choose Pedro Luque. I saw he did an extraordinary job in Don't Breathe. It's a movie set up in total dark, in only one location. So all of that made me believe that he was the right guy. It looks beautiful also, and at the same time he's from Uruguay. Sometimes the movies shot in Latin America by foreign directors, they focus more in the exotic, like they had this kind of tourist eye, and I wanted to shoot it from the inside. So it had to be very important to have somebody that will understand what we were trying to tell, and at the same time the language was very important. And the other thing that you said about the unknown actors, yes, it's a movie that the actors were going through a very demanding process. We shot chronologically. They were losing weight for 4 months, more than 40 pounds, some of them. They were following a strict diet with a group of nutritionists, passing them on exam weekly, just to make sure that they were okay. They shot in the snow, going through all the emotions that the characters went through, you know. So having somebody, a famous actors, a famous face there, felt that they, maybe we will not get this kind of like excitement of a young actor who hasn't done that much, you know. At the same time, also I didn't want to have in everybody. There was nobody more important than the other ones in that plane, you know. I didn't want to have protagonists. I wanted a narrator, but I didn't want a protagonist. So I didn't want anyone to feel more important than anyone in that plane. So I decided to go to an unknown actors to avoid that. But these people, for us, was fundamental to get their help. So we went to Uruguay. We sat down with all the survivors. We shot them. We shot interviews with them for a week, 4 or 5 hours per each of them. So we came back to Spain with more than 50 hours of interviews. By doing so, I got an idea of who they were. That was very helpful for the auditions. So I had an idea of each character, and I was looking for people that will remind me not only the way they look like, but also the kind of personality I was looking for. Because it's always helpful if you have an actor that brings something that reminds you the character. So to give you an example, Numa is a guy who's all the time with this kind of frustration that he believes that he's not doing enough. And I remember Enzo, who's an extraordinary actor, like all the time kind of like frustrated in the auditions, because he was thinking all the time, I can do it better, I can do it better. So I saw Numa there. This is Numa, you know. This is what I'm looking for. So each actor is different. You need to adapt to each of them. But I was looking for people who already bring a lot with them that will remind me the characters. After that, we did almost 2 months of rehearsals. 7 weeks in Barcelona. We were rewriting the script as we were going through the film, which was very helpful. And then we sent them to Uruguay to meet the survivors and the families of the disease. That gave them like a commitment, you know. From the moment they created a relation with these people, there was a stronger commitment with what we were doing, what they were doing. And then we shot for a long time. They came back to Spain. We shot for 140 days, which is a very, very long shoot, and chronological. So it allowed us to be able to shoot the script, but at the same time to explore. They were so well prepared that I allowed them to try things. You know, there was a lot of improvisation on set in order to capture this kind of truth that I'm looking for with actors.
Yeah.
Hopefully sometimes that you don't need more than that. And also, silence is very interesting in cinema because it doesn't tell the audience how to feel, and you're putting so much in the visuals that if you put in the visuals and in the music, sometimes it's too much, you know. Yeah. So it was very interesting to play with silence, not telling the audience is not that used anymore to silence in cinema, which is a shame. Because
well, in this film, I think it's ultimately the most important thing is when you are engulfed in silence, when you're only there with your own thoughts. That's the most uncomfortable place
it happened
to be.
to me. The first thing I did, I was with Pedro. We went to the Valley of the Tears where the plane crashed in the same time of the year. So it's very impressive when you see those mountains. It's the biggest mountain range on the planet, you know, and the silence there. What you hear the most is yourself, is your breathing, which is very symbolic, because to me at the end, it's this film, it's this journey of self-discovery of these characters, learning about who they are, the essence of who they are, also integrating their shadows, you know, and being more complete by doing so. So going to the mountain to hear yourself, to see who you are really, you know. It felt very symbolic, it felt good, it felt right. And silence is one of the most important elements in this score.
What I think it's interesting in the movie, but as silence works in sound, it works in image too. You know, when you have a white canvas, it's like one little stroke becomes super powerful, right? And you have that picture, it's like almost all white, and you have a small Numa walking. You know, that kind of stuff becomes super expressive. In integrating all the elements we had, you know, like these mountains were big part of the story. Right? It's like this monster that traps them, and the way we show our characters also, it's like as if they were bigger than life too. You know, sometimes, you know, we show them from a little bit lower angles and we get very close to them. Sometimes we use this lens that Juan Antonio loves, that's just like a probe lens that makes you feel, you know, like you're tiny against these huge people. And it was very interesting to, you know, to play with the vastness of the Andes Mountains that are like so big. Sometimes we used to like zoom out from the plane and it would never end, you know. When we saw the valley, the fuselage was so small that we couldn't understand, you know, that we had to find ways of, okay, how do we actually understand where they are? And I don't know, it was beautiful. When we were there at the Valley of Tears, it's like everything clicked, you know. We were like, oh, okay. You know, you gotta go and do it to understand how it feels, because you gotta go there and you see that vastness and that size, you know. It's and then our main guideline.
There is this line,
Yeah.
when in the script that says you cannot look at what's going on here, what's happening here, with the eyes of before.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
we had to
Totally.
look from the
Yeah.
inside. We had to go to the mountain where
Yes.
everything happened, ask for permission to tell their
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, and
And to me, one of the most important things that we've done together in this film is to explore image in a way that we were all the time obsessed about finding images
Yeah.
that felt meaningful.
yeah,
that
that
had
told
lot
a
of
little
meaning.
bit more than the what was there. You know, that went a level extra.
But like having an element of like very meaningful images,
Mhm.
like profound images, and when we found them, we were so excited. I think, for example, that last moment when Numa touches Roberto's foreground and leaves forehead and leaves a stain of blood, you know, and feels there's something there that feels almost sacred.
Yeah.
How his injury is leaving a print on Roberto. Of course, Roberto will say the day after, we're leaving tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you see that in that image, you know?
Yeah.
Or Roberto, when he buries the sock
Yeah.
of food, you know, like that sock full of food, you know, it's that moment where the meat becomes again spirit, you know. So we were obsessed in finding those images that will tell you the story in a different way. We knew the story so well. There's 2 movies before
Yeah.
than this one. There are a lot of documentaries and books. So we had to find meaningful images that will tell you the story in a cinematic way and in a very profound way, almost sacred, you know. So
Yeah, you're right. I never thought about that. We knew the story so well that this exploration we were doing was a little bit more, more like a how do you say, like a poetry of what was happening. I mean, I don't want to sound too, but it was that we knew the story so well that we were like looking for something else.